Don't hang up that phone. We've found what you're looking for. Welcome to the Let's Talk Cabling Podcast with Chuck Bowser, RCDD. Well, seeing how we're pulling Category 6A, the most powerful twisted pair in the world, you gotta ask yourself this one question. Did I pull 295 or 300 feet? Well, do you feel lucky? Do you, punk? What exactly does RCDD stand for? Registered Communications Distribution Designer. Just the expert you need to ensure your cable plant performs exactly as designed. The elite professional, knowledgeable, and experienced in leading-edge ICT design principles. Now, send the new guy to the truck for a bucket of dial tone and the cable stretchers, while you listen to an informative program on telecommunications.
All righty, welcome. It's Thursday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I feel like I'm supposed to be doing something. Oh, I don't have my light on back there. I thought it was kind of dark back there, and something's in my way here. What is that in the way? That is the phone that's doing that. My TikTok feed is getting in the way. There we go. Move TikTok back a tiny bit. There we go, TikTok. There we go. There we go. Now it's not in the screenshot. How's everybody doing tonight? Right? Thursday night. Got some questions for you. But you know, how do we always start off every Thursday night live stream? Come on. How do we do it? How do we do it? What are you drinking? Because it is after hours, so adult beverages are allowed after hours. But I am not drinking an adult beverage. I am drinking root beer Zevia. Root beer Zevia. Kaylin came to visit me this week. Had some Zevia soda. What'd you think of it? Although he says he's drinking water right now. So welcome to live stream after hours, where you submit your favorite question, your favorite RCDD. That would be me. Now, as you always know, we always have another thing we do predominantly. Let's get the volume all the way up. Don't want the volume. Want that. There we go. Now, next thing we always do is after you do that is don't forget to check out the QR code on the screen if you're on LinkedIn or if you're on YouTube. It helps if I put the QR code up, right? Let me put the QR code up. There we go. QR code. There it is. QR code. So make sure you check out the QR code where you can have access to all of our social media platforms: LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Pinterest. And you can also buy me a cup of coffee or a 6-pack of Zevia. You can also schedule a one-on-one 15-minute Zoom call with me after hours, of course. Just had somebody do one today. Yep, tomorrow we're going to be talking about, I think he said fiber in wet locations. Fiber in wet locations. So make sure you do that. Then the next thing we always do the acronym challenge. The acronym challenge, because we all know that I love doing acronyms. So the acronym for this week is EMC. EMC. What does that acronym mean? Does anybody know? What does that acronym EMC comes from? Chapter 22 of the Big C Telecom Distribution Methods Manual. BGP for me is in the house. Hey, how you doing, my friend? Yeah, so the acronym that we're doing right now is EMC. Oh, I got to do my announcement. Help control the acronym population. Don't forget to spay or neuter your acronym. We have enough already. Yeah, we have enough acronyms. We don't need any more. So the acronym is EMC. What does that stand for? Anybody in TikTok getting it? Nobody's posted it yet. Let me check the chat box on here, and let me see. Oh, Tony Baker from North Carolina is in the house. Oh, hey, that reminds me. I'll tell you something about North Carolina in just a second. Okay, so let's finish the acronym challenge first. So the acronym for this week is EMC, which stands for electromagnetic compatibility. Electromagnetic compatibility. That's when one electric or electronic device does not interfere with another electric or electronic device. Okay, there you go. That's what EMC means. And I'll give you the perfect example of EMC right now. On my desk, sitting right behind me, I've got a Brother P Touch labeler and an AM Test Pro 100. I can fire them both things up at the exact same time and they will not interfere with each other. That's electromagnetic compatibility. There you go. Now you know. Now, moving on. Next thing is the motivational minute. We'll get to the questions here in just a minute. The motivational minute, and this one comes from Will Rogers. And it says, don't let yesterday take up too much of today. We all make mistakes. Don't dwell on them. Right? If you spend time dwelling on your mistakes, then you don't have time to do good things. My wife's guilty of that one quite often. Right? Then also, so here's the North Carolina thing I was just telling you about. On May 17th through the 19th, I'll be in Raleigh, Charlotte, and Columbia, South Carolina. So if you want to do an after hours meetup with me from 5:30 to 6:30, make sure you shoot me a message and I'll give you the address and we'll hang out for 30 minutes to an hour and we can talk about career advice, anything. So I'll do my wake up meetings in as well. Also, don't forget, if you were on TikTok, you saw this already. I put out my t-shirt designs. Yes, my t-shirt designs. Here's what they look like. So knowledge is power is this show's slogan. Knowledge is power. Look, it's got little RJ45s for the zeros. Shirts, cups, coffees, mouse pads, anything. We got it. So it's a good way to support the show. Make sure that you do that if you don't mind. You don't mind, right? So remember, in the chat box or in the comment section in the TikTok feed, post your questions. Post your questions. I got a couple ones that are submitted ahead of time. So, well, hold on. What is this? What is the best way to remedy insertion loss? Oh, that is a great question. So, what is insertion loss? Insertion loss is defined as, I don't have a piece of cable. Oh, I do have a piece of cable. The cleaner came today, so I cleaned off my desk. So insertion loss is how the signal gets weaker as it goes down that cable, right? It's also known as attenuation. There's a lot of things that can cause insertion loss. Let's look at them in what's probably the most common to what's the least common. The first one is going to be your cable's too long. Your cable is too long. Go and do the TDR function and see how long it is. Next most likely thing is it goes through some kind of a hot environment. Heat zaps the energy out of a cable. So it goes through a hot room, or it might be mounted on the top of red iron right next to the metal roof, which gets really hot. That can cause high insertion loss. Another thing that can cause insertion loss is you have your tester set up incorrectly. You have it set up for Cat 6A cable, but you're testing Cat 5E cable. That'll give you high insertion loss. And you can also have bad or poor quality patch cords. So those are the most common causes for insertion loss. So check all of those. Who asked that question? Cable. George Galen asked that question. Very good. So the next question comes from Joshua via email. And Joshua says, can I use a cold water pipe as a ground source? Can I use a cold water pipe as a ground source? Well, there's two answers to that question, right? Per code, yes, you can. You can use a cold water pipe per code, but you got to be within. You got to see from where you attach your ground to the cold water pipe. You got to be able to see to where it goes through the wall, and there's to be 10 feet of direct metal contact on the other side of the wall. And the only way I know to verify that's with a shovel, right? So the code book says you can. The code book says you absolutely can. But when you actually read the TDMM says on page 8-46, I'm going to read this for you. It says, metallic water piping should be used with great caution. Great caution, since the maintenance and upgrades are generally performed with non-conductive plastic pipes. If used, the water metallic pipe should never be a single ground earth source. So the TDM says you can use a cold water pipe, but you shouldn't do it unless you absolutely have to, because if they have copper piping today, they spring a water leak, they replace it with PVC. I feel like I just answered this question like last week or the week before, right? Water's conductive is still a test for it going all the way through. So, yeah, you shouldn't use it. And if you're using cold water as a ground, you need to have a supplementary ground source just in case. All right, just in case. Next question comes from Mark. And Mark says, Chuck, I'm running my first large project on a construction site as a foreman. Any ideas how to start this? I got a couple of ideas for you there, Mr. Mark. The first one is things that you have to do before you actually get on the job site. Okay. First thing you're going to do is you're going to get a hold of the scope of work, the bill of materials, the prints, cut sheets, all the project documentation before you start the job. And I don't mean 7:30 in the morning you start a day. I'm talking like a week before you start the job. That way you have time to go through and read it and immerse in it and find the mistakes, because there are mistakes in it. I guarantee you there's mistakes in it, right? Then when you find those mistakes, you want to get with the estimator, get with the project manager with the discrepancies, or anything that you might be confused about because you read through the scope of work and you're not really sure what it's telling you to do, right? Because you really want to clear that up before you start doing the work, not after you start doing the work. Okay. Next thing you want to do is you want to identify any kind of safety requirements or additional safety training that you might need to do. Like, for example, some new construction sites, because you said it was construction, the general contractor, or the GC, there's another acronym for you, may want you to sit in their specific safety class. You might have to sit in that class to get the sticker to put on your helmet, or you won't be able to get on the job site. You might have to do that. You might have training for specific types of equipment, right? For example, like personnel lifts, forklifts. But you should also do training on for anybody who may need it on like ladder safety and stuff like that, because you might just hire somebody new, right? Also, make sure that if applicable, the permit has been pulled for the job. Okay, don't go out there and start doing work, because if you're out there doing work without a permit, trust me, the electrical inspector is gonna get onto you big time, and he's gonna make you're just not gonna have a good day. Make sure that permit is pulled, because a lot of jurisdictions actually require you to post that permit somewhere. And if you're working on a new construction site, the general contractor may want a copy of that permit to put with their permits in case they get inspected or audited. So make sure you get a copy of the permit. I was on a project once where we started, and my boss, who was a German electrician, says, I'm just go ahead and start it. I'm going to be out there, I'm going to go get the permit right now, and I'll be right out there. Well, he went to get the permit. Guess what? It didn't get approved. I never got the phone call. I'm still out there working. We got kicked off the job site. Yeah, the electrical inspector was there, inspecting the electrician's work. We got kicked off the job site. It happens. It happens. If you're doing any kind of outside plant work, right? My brother does outside plant cabling. On the job site doing outside plant work is there again before you do the work. Make sure you inspect it, make sure it's working. What I'm talking about is like ventilators, right? Maybe a rescue gear, maybe monitoring equipment. When you first book, you want to walk into the GC's office and introduce yourself. Hi, I'm so and so from such and such cable company. I'm here to do the cabling today, this week, this project. Introduce yourself to the GC, because you will be interacting with that person quite often. And don't limit yourself to just the GC. Also go meet the other trades, especially the electricians, because you're gonna be working hand in hand with them. You're gonna be working in the same spaces. But also go to the fire sprinkler guys, go to the HVAC guys, go to the painters, and ask them, hey, when are you guys going to start painting? Because I can't have you painting my cable. What can I do to keep your overspray from getting on my cable? Because that is a code violation, right? Again, it's easier to fix those problems when before you run into them. So that's the best. That's why you should really want to go ahead and meet all those vendors, all those other trades out there on the site. You also may want to talk to the GC and ask them, hey, is there any specific entry or exit processes? Is there a certain part of the lot that we have to park, right? What's the requirements if there's like I did a project in Clinton, Mississippi once for MCI Rollcom. Well, a tornado touched down about 4 miles from the job site. So they had a tornado plan. So make sure you find out whatever that is, right? Somebody says, and get the contact info for the other subs. Oh, great idea. Tom the Carpenter is in the house. Great one. 10,000 points for you for Tom the Carpenter. Tom the Carpenter, 10,000 points for you. Get their contact information. Get the contact information for their project manager, their lead tech, and even a couple people underneath them. Because mixed pro tip number 2, if you know the list, I got 147. Pro number 2, if you don't have the contact information. Great one, Tom. Great one, my friend. Yes. And then you get on the job the first, right? Explain to them the size of the project, the number. What time do we get off? What time are the union breaks? If it's a union job site, right? Make sure you get stuff knocked out as well. Make sure you also have some kind of hierarchy already worked out, right? Who's the foreman? Who's the lead technician? Who do you report to? What's the hierarchy that goes through? Talk to them about timesheets. Tell them if you get timesheets where you actually track production, explain to them how to track that production, how to enter the units, how to enter the hours. Also, when should they be submitted? Do they need to be submitted every morning? Do they need to be submitted every night? Do they need to be submitted once a week? And who has the signing authority? If you have a crew that has multiple levels, the lower people might have to submit their timesheets to the lead foreman. The lead foreman might have to sign off on that and give that to the project manager. Again, you're telling them where the goal line is, right? So make sure that they know where that process is. Okay. The next question, let me see, I haven't got any additional questions from TikTok. Let me flip over to the live stream, see if anybody's got any questions there. Nope, no additional questions there yet. So we'll go back over to the other submitted questions. And this one comes from Scott via Instagram. And Scott wants to know, why is single mode fiber yellow? Why is it yellow? Can I use other colors? Well, the standard calls out for jacket colors for fiber, right? And the thing is, standards are voluntary. If you want to get a pink jacketed, single mode fiber, get a pink jacketed single mode fiber. It's not going to affect the photon going down that cable. But if you do follow the colors that's laid out in the standards, it's going to make your job a little easier. But first, I'm going to talk about these colors, right? So single mode will be yellow, OM1 and OM2. OM1 is the original 62.5. OM2 is 50 micron fiber. Those will be orange in color. OM3 and OM4 are the 50 micron laser optimized. Those will be aqua. OM5 is the 50 micron wideband multi-mode fiber. That will be lime in color. If you have dispersion shifted single mode fiber, that will be red. And then polarization maintaining single mode will be blue in color. But like I said, you can do any color you want, realistically. It doesn't really matter. And the advantage of following the standard is if you get asked to go do cabling on a job site that you did 5 years ago and you can't remember what kind of fiber that you used, you can pull up to the front of the job site and you can tell your apprentice, hey, run up to the 10th floor, go look in the closet and tell me what color is the fiber. And if they come back and say, oh, well, boss, it's red, well, then that's dispersion shifted single mode fiber. You don't have to worry about him reading the label on the cable, right? So following it helps you in the long run. Question number 4. I'm missing a project with fiber, and I don't have guys who are comfortable with terminating and testing fiber. Can I use pre-terminated fiber, and what are the drawbacks? First off, let's talk about what pre-terminated fiber is. So pre-terminated fiber is a fiber cable that you can buy from the factory that's already terminated on one or both sides. And if it's terminated on both sides, it's going to come tested. And then literally all you do is just take it to the job site and install it. Right? You don't have to terminate it on the job site. Now, when you do that, you got to make sure that here's a beautiful thing. You can also get the connectors straight or staggered, and you get all the different kinds of single mode, multi mode, different lengths, whatever. So the advantage there is single mode fiber, or not single mode fiber trunk assemblies are generally better quality than what you can do out on the job site. I don't care how good you are terminating fiber, you're terminating in a dirty environment. In the production floor, they're in a clean room environment. So it's a better quality, it's a better environment. And that's all that those people do all day long is terminate fiber. So they're really good at terminating fiber. Right? Now, another advantage is you're going to save labor. Right? Number one, you can save labor because you're not going to be terminating fiber on the job site. And number two, you can actually use your lower paid people to install this fiber. You don't have to use your fiber technicians. You can have the installers do this because you're really just pulling cable and letting it in, putting in. Right? So you can actually save labor. And if your price is cheaper, that means you win more work. You win more work. Anybody can solve. Now, here's some disadvantages to the pre-terminated fiber stuff. You better make sure that you measure your distance, not once, not twice, but 5 times. 5 times. Because with pre-terminated fiber trunk assemblies, or even pre-terminated copper trunk assemblies, it's better to be 50 feet too long than 6 inches too short. Right? It's easy to do another loop or two in the slack box. If you run out of distance, there ain't nothing you can do but order another trunk assembly. So make sure you measure it multiple times. Make sure that you get it so that you have the exact right one. And be aware that even though it's pre-terminated from the factory and it comes to you tested, some manufacturers are going to require that you test it for warranty purposes. Okay, last submitted question. This one's from Richard via email. Richard says, I need to run a cable between 2 buildings. Should I do direct buried or underground cabling? Now, they didn't ask about aerial cabling, so I'm sure they probably don't know how to have the equipment to set those poles. Now, for what people don't know what the difference between direct buried and underground cable is, underground cable, you're going to dig a trench, you can put the cable in the trench, and then you're going to backfill. So the cable is actually touching the soil. With direct buried cable, you're going to dig a trench, you're going to put a conduit in that trench, and then you're going to backfill that hole up, and then you're going to run the cable inside of the conduit. Pro tip 14, always leave a pull string. Always leave a pull string or a pull rope or mule tape. Everybody's called something a little different. Now, direct buried is the most expensive way to run a cable between 2 buildings initially because you got to put in the cost of the conduit or the duct bank system. But over the lifespan of the system, it actually becomes the cheapest because the building will last 50 to 75 years. They're going to outgrow that cable. When you want to put in that new cable, you want to replace the old cable, all you got to do is attach your new cable to the pull string and then pull that through. So over the lifespan of the building, it actually becomes the cheapest. There are some things you got to watch out for, though, when you're talking about direct buried cable and even underground cable as well. Number one, make sure you pay attention to where the parking lots and the sidewalks are going to be placed, right? Make sure that because they don't like hard 90s, you got to do sweeping bends. Sweeping bends. If you're doing the direct buried, where you're putting a conduit system in, you better make sure you understand where the shrubs and the trees are going to be planted. Right? Shrubs and trees. Because the roots from those plants can actually grow into a conduit system and block it out, and you can't pull anything through that system. So you got to make sure that you follow that. Right. So that was the last question I had submitted. Let me flip over to the TikTok feed. Let's see if I'm not TikTok feed. The LinkedIn feed and the YouTube feed. Nobody has put any questions in the chat box. No questions there. Let me check the TikTok feed. Any questions in there? I already answered one question from TikTok already tonight. And don't see any questions we typed in there. So I'll just wait a few extra seconds because we're actually 6:25. We got 5 minutes. And so if you have a question, put it in the chat box. Put it in the chat box. Or put it in the thing up there. So anything interesting going on? I know. Let me see. Oh, I know I can talk about Low Voltage Nation did their first post-COVID meetup in Jacksonville, Florida, and I went. Yes, I drove up there the night before, used my Marriott reward points, stayed at the hotel, and it was held at I can't think of the name of the company off the top of my head, but they manufacture and sell enclosures, some really nice enclosures too, aluminum ones. They're really cool design. And they had Jonard there, so they had their tools play. And they had Nano Fiber, Poet, POE Wit was out there with their power over Ethernet stuff. Lee Renfro, the Southeast Regional Director of Bixby, was there. He's teaching people how to read an OTDR. TJ from Panama City, I think he's VSC Consulting or something like that. He was teaching people how to fusion splice on connectors, which was actually pretty interesting. I've done fusion splicing, but I've never done a fusion splice on connector before, so that was kind of interesting. Yeah, can't wait for the next meetup. That's gonna be really cool. All right, and then for the enclosures, they actually had people drilling through the enclosures and installing the watertight connectors and stuff like that. It was a really good day. Yeah, and then there was an hour in the morning from 9 to 10 for meetup and stuff, and it ended about 3. Got home about 6:30. Really cool event. So if you ever get the opportunity to attend a Low Voltage Nation meetup, I highly suggest you do that. Yeah, and Blake and I are already kind of brainstorming about the next one to see what we did. So explain what we tested again. Explain what we tested again. What are you talking about? You talking about when you were here, or are you talking about what they tested at the meetup? Because I don't understand your question, George. So George is in the audience. He's one of my best friends. He came and visited me last week because he wanted to play with the AEM Test Pro, and I decided to get out and let it play with him. Right? Why did it fail? Why did what? The cable that you and I tested? Again, you got to be specific, George. I don't know what you're asking me, buddy. Let me flag back over to the captions. Anybody have any questions here? Okay, no questions there. So the cable we failed here failed because of DC resistance. And I think that was because of the cable. I got a bad piece of cable. That's what that was. All righty, I got 628. That's close enough for me. Remember, see you next Thursday night. I'll doing a live stream next Thursday night. The week after that, I will be in Raleigh, Charlotte, or Columbia, South Carolina. So make sure that you send me a meetup request if you are going to be hanging out there. So until next time, everybody, remember, knowledge is power.